Who is this human abomination?
He calls himself a Superman. He floats on the air. Go on, show him.
Why not? It's my day off. Superman, away! I was under the impression that such abominations were sealed away in the Forbidden Zone. Ursus, explain this anomaly.
Hello my friends and welcome back to Player Display. So recently we reviewed the re-release of General Ursus from Beneath the Planet of the Apes, to be more specific, and today here we have ZIRA, but she is actually from the original release of the Planet of the Apes wave back in 2014. So this is going to be an interesting one. I actually found her on eBay somehow for stock price, so I absolutely had to pick her up. And if you know this channel, you know that she and Cornelius, who I'm still yet to get, they've been on my bucket list for many, many years. So I'm really happy that I finally have a ZIRA. I think I just need Cornelius, and I think I can call this collection complete. I mean, you can get as many gorilla soldiers as you want. I might actually be so tempted to get the ultimate gorilla one day. I'll think about it. But really, I just need ZIRA. Then I think the last one's Cornelius, and I think I'm just about good. So all that being said, let's have a look at the packaging to start us off. It is going to be interesting because while this is a great box on its own, there are certainly graphical differences from the modern re-releases that we just saw, being, again, ZIRA was re-released, then Ursus, a gorilla soldier, and Zeus. Hopefully they do some more for any others who missed out on some of the other figures, like the Comic-Con exclusives and whatever have you. But firstly, let's just start off with the box on its own. Here we have ZIRA towards the bottom, along with Planet of the Apes, ages 14 and up. Off to the side, we will come back to the sides later because that is another noticeable difference with the packaging. We have the chimp logo over here. Off to the side, exactly the same. Off to the back, we have the same back that we see with every single box for the figures of this line. The big old spoiler, and then we have what looks like is Caesar and not Cornelius, just judging by the hair that he's got and the face. There's slight differences in there. You also have a bio for ZIRA over here, if for some reason you have not seen the movie. And then down here, you have other figures in the line, including ZIRA herself. So that being said, that's it for this box, but I did also want to bring in the packaging for the re-release Ursus to do a few comparisons. I mean, obviously, one's for Ursus and one's for ZIRA, but if we go down here, we can see a few differences here. It looks like on the initial packaging, they did more of an artistic rendering of the characters, whereas on the new packaging, it's more just a straight-up shot of them without that interesting red outline that the artwork had on the 2014 boxes. You also see that there's more of this stripe motif on the new packaging, as well as on the top with the Planet of the Apes logo, so that's pretty cool. Back to the sides, as I mentioned before, originally, like on some of the retrospectives we did in the past, they initially had the respective logos for each of the apes that we got, but now they're opting for just straight up photoshots of the main figure, which is totally understandable, and just makes a little more sense. It gives you a better idea of what the figure in the packaging can do, so that is awful nice, although I don't mind this either. I think that's very creative. And then down here, you actually get the scale of the figure on the old one, but not on the new, so that's quite interesting as well. As for the backs, oh wow, they're actually very different. So on the originals, you have Caesar and the Statue of Liberty. Over here, it's just a statue with different lighting, I think it's a little more zoomed out, a little more saturated, more colors to it. So that's pretty cool. I love both presentations, but it is worth noticing the differences. So that being said, let's have a look at the figure. Come on, who doesn't love Kim Hunter as ZIRA? She was amazing in all three movies that she was in, and one of them being especially confusing. Yeah, she held the fort as one of the strongest characters in the entire franchise for 3 films, and unfortunately that all culminated in a really tragic end. But that being said, it is really nice to have a figure of her when they could have just omitted her completely, since she isn't known for like carrying around weapons or anything. She's very anti-weapon, as we know from the films. And yeah, it's nice that we got a representation of her at all, even though we kind of expect that there's not a whole lot that she physically does, aside from stand there, hold a few things, gesture with her hands a little bit. Let's pop into the figure. I cannot speak to any differences that there might be between this original release and the re-release, because again, the re-released apes are for some reason just as hard to find. I got really lucky with Ursus, but that being said, let's start off with the head sculpt. God damn it, I love what they do with the 68 onwards apes in the NECA line. They do such a good job at sculpting out all the intricate wrinkles in the face, and then every single individual hair on the cowl. And for ZIRA, she's very unique to help iterate the fact that she's female, I suppose. She has a very unique mane, if you'll call it that, where it kind of extends out a little bit from around the lower cheeks, if you get what I mean. Like, if we cut those off, it would be a little bit more difficult to discern whether this is a male or female chimp. But now that we have those, it's a little bit more obvious. Off to the profile, you see that hair kind of coiling around and then back up to the ear, which is visible, and that's kind of neat. And you will see that we do have the ear on each side, but one, being on the left, is more exposed than the one on the right, which is pretty cool. Off to the back, you get more of that slicked back hair, and honestly, the presentation is pretty seamless. I'm sure if you dug in hard enough, you might find where there might be a scene that connects two hemispheres of the head together, but otherwise, it's a very consistent sculpt. One thing I will say, not really a complaint, just something I noticed, is comparing her to the other apes I have in my collection, her face skin tone is a little bit on the dark side. It could have been brightened up a little bit. Maybe that's something that they did with the re-release, but then again, I can't really speak to that because I don't have one and I can't afford another one. So this is as good as it's going to get here. Down here to the torso, I actually rewatched the original movie in the last few days because I love that movie so much. It's one of my favorite movies ever. Why not? And one really cool thing I noticed is that firstly, we have like this leather overlay on her tunic, which is really cool, and it's got those iconic patterns that distinguish her role as a chimp and as a scientist. But also, you'll notice as soon as she appears in the movie for the first time, this is actually a pocket. This is where she carries her notepad, which is one of her accessories, and a pen, and then that's what Taylor uses to write, "My name is Taylor." So more on that a little bit later. The sleeves are pretty interesting because she is wearing multiple layers of clothing, being her green tunic, and there's like a brown undergarment of sorts you can see down here on the lower sleeves. One of the really interesting things about it, though, is that there is this very distinct cut in the front of the green, which is accurate to the movie, firstly. And second, that is going to restrict her articulation a little bit. It's going to help it and hinder it at the same time. The cut helps because that allows the arm to go up through the sleeve, but at the same time, you can't really exploit any type of swivel that would be under there. I guess you could kind of twist it vertically like that if you really wanted to for whatever reason, but if you bend it up and wanted to swivel it, you could do that, but it would warp the plastic a little bit, so do be prepared. But you probably want a clearance there so that way she can move her arms up and then she could be holding one for a few accessories or whatever you want, so it is nice that we have that. As for ape hands, they are not like non-human structure-wise, but they are very clearly like almost human hands with some fur on them, so I do like that. They do have some extra little wrinkles in there to bring out more of that apeness. I really do like that. Continuing with the rest of the green tunic here, we would focus so much more on the brown accents of her outfit. Now let's focus on the green. It's this really nice olive color. Really love it a lot. Not too muddy, not too greasy. It's just one solid color, and it sells the illusion very well. I really love those classic trademark NECA wrinkles throughout the outfit. That just really adds an extra dimension to all the figures that they do. Really love it a lot. And even down to the splits that they have down here, which again are film accurate. I really like that a lot. But moving on from the green now, another surprise I didn't even notice about this figure until I had her in hand is she has friggin' soft goods, which is really wonderful. Not only does that make her a more tactile experience as a figure, but also that gives her just a little bit more movement in the legs, which is really great. If you pull the skirt up just a little bit, we don't have to go all the way up. I mean, it would be hard to do with the solid tunic in the way. You can see a little bit more of the sculpt. It looks like it's almost this tan color, so adding a little bit more to that green and brown motif. Now we have a beigeish tan, whatever you want to call it. And it looks like it's got some pants going down the legs, down to some shoes. I was almost tempted to call them sandals. Those are not her toes poking out. They're almost like this external padding. And not all apes have this. Some do, some don't. Zeus does, though. She has that extra little digit popping out from the inside, almost like a pinky of sorts. So that's really cool. You can also look at the back of the figure just in general. I always forget to look at the back of figures, so I apologize for that. But yeah, it continues with, again, we already looked at the mane. Then you have the wrinkles in the clothing, and also that really intricate texture work in the brown undershirt, which I really love. You see the soft goods a little bit better too, which is nice, and the back of her heels. So really amazing figure. This sculpt absolutely holds up. Again, the Apes figures are not super articulated. They don't have like a whole bunch of dumbbell joints, butterfly joints. But in this case, I think that's all right. They don't really need to be retooled. They don't need to move a whole ton. So this figure, this is an all-timer for me. I really love the fact that I have her, and she's just a great figure on her own. What can I say? As an action figure, ZIRA actually has a lot working against her. Firstly, she is not an ultimate figure, so she's not going to be totally stacked with stuff. And second, just knowing her character, there's not a whole lot of things or objects that she interacts with in the film. She's not an action character at all, like Ursus might be, like her son would be. But there are a few little things that NECA did include with her, which actually work very well. The most predictable, I thought, of course, is the iconic paper airplane that floats on the air, which I really like. This might actually be familiar to some of you because we have actually seen a paper plane on this channel before when I got the original release of Dr. Zaius, well, one of the two initial releases because there's two variants of him, and I actually custom made a plane for him to crush up in his hands. I used a thicker paper than NECA did over here, and theirs is almost a little bit off color. I think that's just simply from age. It might have been a pristine white when it was first manufactured and sent out from the factory, but both of them are folded the same, although incorrectly from the film. In the movie, they actually fold in those two corners down inward, so it's more triangulated, I suppose you could say. Well, I guess this is a triangle too, but it was a little bit more elongated isosceles, would that be the word? I haven't been in grade school math in a very long time, but whatever. But yeah, it's a really nice piece. Although you would want to be a little careful with it because it is made of actual paper, which I do like. It adds to the realism, but it will also make it a lot more fragile. I also wouldn't have minded if they just made it like a solid, thin plastic. That way it would maintain its shape and you wouldn't have to worry about it crumpling up on you or anything like that. But that being said, her hands are perfect for the 3 accessories that she comes with. Maybe except for one, we'll look at that later. But she can hold the plane just fine. In her right hand, she has 2 fingers pinched together, being her thumb and her index. You can slot that right in. Very good. And yeah, she could be playing with the plane, just amused with the prospect of objects being able to float on the air at all, because apes don't do that at this point in time, being 39, 50, something, whenever the apes were roaming around. As for other accessories, this is where they start to get really creative, and these are quite fun. And it is worth mentioning that all 3 of these accessories are either paper or cardboard based, so you do want to be careful with all of them. Handle them gingerly. As I mentioned before, she comes with what's technically a notepad, not meant to be a single sheet of paper. This is the notepad that she hands to Taylor. No, Taylor yanks it right from her and writes down his name to prove that he is sentient and he is capable of speech and English. So that's really cool. And I actually pulled out this accessory as soon as the scene showed up in the movie. And this is exactly accurate. This is precisely how all the words and letters lined up on the notepads. That's really cool. Would have been nice if they gave her a pen too, but then again, that would be something straight to the carpet monster, so I understand that. But that being said, you can purchase into her hand. Again, probably best to use that pinching hand that we had on the right, as we saw before. So if you want her reading it, then you'd probably want it facing inwards. Part the fingers a little bit, and then she clamps it just enough, but not so tightly that it distorts the cardboard or anything. Oh, see, there it goes. It fell out a little bit there. But yeah, just perch it in, and as long as you're not moving her around too much, it'll stay there on the shelf, I think. I don't think I'd be too worried about that. I should be looking at it, just astonished by the fact that what is basically cattle to most ape kind, one example is finally able to read and write. So that's pretty cool. And the third accessory, this one's actually pretty funny. I don't remember if this showed up in the first movie, and I wasn't really paying attention when I was watching Beneath, just because I was a little bit busy at the time. I needed something fun in the background. But this is indeed in the movie. We do have her, a photo of, actually, this is even more funny now I think about it. Firstly, it's a photo of her with Cornelius and a bouquet of flowers, presumably from when they got engaged. She did say that they were fiancés in the film, so they are not, in fact, a married couple. And the second thing that I'm just noticing now is this is not the photo directly taken from the film. Rather, these are the action figures posed up together, because you could see the joints in there. That makes me wish that they could have included perhaps a bouquet of flowers, and you could recreate this very photo. That would have been cool. They could have thrown that in as a little bonus. This is something I have not tested out in her hands, although I think it might have the same thickness as the notepad. If we bring that in here, let's see. It does. So yeah, you could probably purchase in her hand if she's just reminiscing on their cute little honeymoon. Or, well, I guess they didn't have a honeymoon yet, right? If they were just fiancés at the point. But Yeah, just looking back on whenever Cornelia said, "Hey, will you be my girlfriend in science?" or whatever it is scientists do. That must have been cute. I would have loved a prequel. But yeah, that's really great. I love that she has those 3 accessories. Again, NECA kind of had to stretch a little bit, but all 3 of them make sense, and they really lend to this character. So I love them a lot. Anyways, with those out of the way, let's go into articulation, which is, again, is limited, but the articulation you need is there. I really love the head movement that she has. I think it's simply a dumbbell joint. She doesn't have like a separate moving neck or anything like that, but she's got a good amount down, a little bit of a kick up. But her tilt is really what changes the game. I love the fact that she's able to emote through this really big head sculpt. I really like that. Especially since this is a character who's notoriously curious. See, she's a scientist. She's the one who uncovers history and stuff alongside her fiancé and stuff like that. So I like the fact that she especially is able to move her head at all. Some of the other apes are a little restrained, like Ursus and some of the gorilla soldiers, if I'm recalling right. Down to the arms, of course, there's no butterflies, but they can hinge out to pretty much a perfect 90. They can swivel all the way around, very little restriction there. Talked about the elbows a little bit. They hinge up to not quite 90. It's an obtuse angle for sure. And they have a swivel, but they are restrained by the green garments that she has. The wrists, both of them, we didn't really talk about the left hand. I apologize for that, but that's more of a wide open hand that she probably just have something resting in. Like, I guess if you wanted to, you could get the notepad, slip that in there, and yeah, that's another option. You could do that if you would like to. Just rest it in there. Both hands are, like all the other apes, they're on ball joints, but for her, because the sleeves extend so far out into the wrist, they're pretty much just a swivel, although you could probably get slight tilting in there. I think it's just a warping of the plastic. I don't think that's really the joint itself. Maybe you'll have better luck here. Yeah, over here, the joint's a little bit more exploitable. So if you want just a touch more degrees in the left hand, then you got it there. But otherwise, it's really just a swivel. That's the best you can do. Like most of the apes, we can't really get full clearance into the torso articulation because of the garments that she has. But moving her around, it seems like the legs kind of just want to take full control up to the thigh. And any waist movement that she might have, it's not really easy to get to, because if I try moving the legs, like grabbing them together and then twisting them, I'm not feeling a whole lot of the joint. It's happening a little bit. So yeah, she probably has a little bit of a diaphragm right in here, but when you do that, it kind of warps the plastic a little bit. So I personally wouldn't do that. And also, you really don't need to twist the waist for any reason. ZIRA doesn't need to twist and shout for any reason. As for the legs, the articulation's good. It's just very hidden. You can spread the legs out a little bit, although the cloth will stretch out there, so do be mindful of that. She does have a knee joint, even though they could have gotten away with just not giving her one, but they gave her one, so that's good. Although it doesn't go very far back. The plastic doesn't restrict her at all, but the joint itself is a very obtuse angle, nowhere close to 90, but you really don't need more than that. You can get her running or walking, whatever. I'd really love for them to have, like, if they really went above and beyond, have a baby, not Caesar, but Milo accessory for her to hold in her hands for the end scene of escape. I mean, the implications would be sad, but it would be kind of cool to see her holding her baby. I might custom make one if I could think of how to do that. And then lastly, down here, the ankles for these NECA apes, they're on ball joints. There's nothing too crazy, but you have back, you have up a little bit, got rotation, and hey, you got some rocker too, so you can get her in slightly more dynamic positions. So, yeah, I really do love this figure. Obviously, she does show her age in terms of the mold and the joints and everything, but in terms of presentation, I really love it. She is a great figure. Here we are at size comparisons, kind of a mix between originals and re-releases, but all the heights are pretty much the same across them. I see no reason why a re-release of a figure would be taller or shorter than the predecessor in this case. So anyways, going from left to right, first we have two of ZIRA's least favorite apes. We have Ursus and Zeus. We know their whole beef and why ZIRA hated them so much, of course. And then next to her, we have her boy. I actually really love this. We have Caesar, who looks and sounds suspiciously like her husband. I wonder why that could be. It's almost as if they were played by the same actor. Very strange. And then, of course, lastly, we gotta wrap up with Star Wars The Black Series, Quash and Mechamuck.
Caesar, show who is the true apex predator!
Why, I haven't had this much fun since battle.
I have armor, 2 blasters, a sword in my back, and I'm just an overall badass. You have no chance.
Do your worst, lousy human Oh,
Caesar!
my mother's here.
What in the blazes are you doing out here at this time of day with guns no less? Where do you think you are, barbaric gorilla? You and this armored man and this primitive specimen, get yourself home right now and we're gonna have a long conversation about your behavior. Wait till your father hears about this. I'm going to go tell him right now.
I am deeply sorry.
Awkward. Same time tomorrow?
No.
Oh, come on, I can't even maintain my Mandalorian demeanor in the face of hearing something so repetitive and cliche.
As I'm noticing that my turntable is running out of battery, we will go over my final thoughts on this figure, and also the character. I'm one of those people who says you can like and dislike whatever movies or characters you want. I mean, for example, like, I'm thinking a lot about Superman lately because I'm going to be seeing the movie on release date, which I'm really excited about. No matter how that movie turns out, and no matter what Superman you loved in the past, you can't dislike Christopher Reeve Superman, right? Like, we all have those certain characters who are, like, untouchable. Like, you gotta love them. There's no other way around it. There's no reason to dislike them. And for me, ZIRA definitely falls into that category. Her performance, her charm, her charisma, and just the fact that she's this woman trying so hard in this futuristic but also primitive world, it's something very admirable. She has so much gusto, so much fire. She's awesome. She's one of my favorite female characters in all the movies, and this figure absolutely pays testament to the character and Kim Hunter's performance, and also the fact that they did their damnedest, no pun intended, with the classic quote from the film, to give her accessories, which do work very well for her. Of course, you got the paper airplane, which you could probably field craft yourself. I mean, I did that on my own months ago with this little plane over here. Although this one is admittedly a little better because it's thinner, although not as durable. But then they went out of their way to give her the notepad and the family portrait, which I think is really fun. So they gave her a few things just to build her out, give her some more story, add some things to her diorama, whatever you want. And it all works. I think it's really great. I had no issue cracking this figure out of the packaging, even though it's an original release. You know me, I'm an out-of-box collector. I hate seeing figures in their cardboard prisons. It kills me to see that. Toys have a purpose, and it's to be played with. And here we have ZIRA enjoying her little playing time over there. Yeah, and now that I got her, I could put her next to her son, which is really crazy. And then hopefully one day, maybe they'll re-release Cornelius. I really hope that they do. If not, then I don't know. Maybe come another birthday, I'll go after him again. But for now, ZIRA will do. She's a real all-timer. Will we see the human characters is my big question. Like, for example, Taylor, Nova, I don't know, if anyone likes Brent out there, like 3 people who like Brent. I mean, that's a little more difficult because you have human faces, you have likeness rights and stuff like that. But then again, Mego, I think we had some size comparisons where Planet of the Apes Mego figures were there, and I don't own him, but they did do a Taylor figure. But then again, Mego is meant to look a little bit more, I don't want to say the word cheap, but a little more retro, right? Therefore not as accurate. So maybe they could skate by not having to have the rights to Charlton Heston to do him. But as for NECA, where they're always super accurate, I don't know if they have the rights to Taylor, if they could make him. But if they could, I think that would be really great. And think about the opportunities, too. He could be in a spacesuit. He could also be in his rags as well. There'd be a lot of choices there. And come on, who wouldn't want their hands on a Nova figure for more reasons than one? That would be really cool. I'd like to see a human being character that fits within this universe. Even McDonald. I think he'd be really good to go beside his son, Caesar, from Conquest and Battle. That would be really cool, too. But, I don't know, it would be nice if they're not just re-releasing figures from this line, but also adding some more characters to fill in some gaps, some pockets, you know? But we'll see what happens. Time will tell. They might even re-release figures from the remake series as well, but we will see how things go in the future. So, all that being said, this is a really great figure. If you can find her for a decent price, absolutely pick her up. But don't give in to the scalpers unless you're having a really good day financially, because the prices are bad for their originals and the re-releases alike. But all that being put out of the way, she really is a fantastic figure. There's not a single thing I'd really change. I think she's pretty much done just right. I love her a lot. I hope you do too. So thank you guys very much for watching this little retrospective. If you enjoyed them, please, as per usual, be sure to like,
Comment,
ring the bell to be notified of our latest arrivals, and subscribe.
I guess they could have included a banana as part of her accessories, but then again, she does loathe bananas. Rock on, I will see you all later.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Check out this other video you might like at our sister gaming channel.
It'd be real sweet if you did.
Still waiting!